ask you to welcome Orlaith Carmody.
So I was listening to News Talk one day last week and I heard some theme music and it was very nostalgic and it brought me back to the day. And the occasion was the afternoon show, Sean Moncrief's show, and Tara Duggan was filling in very ably and admirably, it has to be said. And the theme music I was listening to was Thomas the Tank Engine. Any Thomas fans on board? Yes, indeed. Well, very appropriate for the day that's in it. Well, the reason it brought me back so much is that at one stage I had 4 under 5. Yes, I am one of those heroic Irish mammies, and I survived it. But 3 of my lads were very, very into Thomas the Tank Engine, the older one in particular. And, you know, he always went on about Thomas and Edward and James and all the adventures of the little trains. He particularly loved the 2 little coal trucks, Annie and Clarabelle, but he couldn't say Clarabelle. They were always Annie and Clabber in our house. So we still talk about Annie and Clabber. But it made me think, listening to that theme music, of the Reverend William Awdry, who wrote those fabulous books, and why he was inspired to write them. And he grew up in a part of England called Wiltshire, beside the Great Western Line. And as a young lad, you know, and this we're talking about the 1920s, or the post-war period certainly, he would listen to the trains beside his house. There was a hill, and each of the steam engines struggling and huffing and puffing and grumbling going up that hill. And he said that each steam engine had its own character and its own distinct characteristics, and that's how you could identify them. And that is, of course, what led to the whole adventure that became the Thomas the Tank Engine series. And he wrote those books in 1946 for his own son, Christopher. And I think he has captured the magic of train travel for so many generations in the most wonderful way. And I was thinking of that again yesterday as I was boarding the train to come down here last night in Euston Station. And I love the hustle and bustle of trains and train travel. I think we all get that sense of excitement, of a journey, of somebody going somewhere, places to go, people to meet, things to do. And even looking around me last night as I was boarding in Euston, and there was one family with about, I'd say, 15 massive suitcases. I think they were emigrating to West Cork. And then, of course, there were the business travellers with the briefcases and the students and the shoppers and all the different people. But as I said, everybody has a story to tell and places to go and things to do. And certainly for the business traveller, the prime thing that you're looking for when you're getting on the train is that you're going to get to your destination fit and able and well to do the job ahead of you. And that job ahead is usually chairing a meeting, nailing that sale, pitching to an important client, conducting a meeting, or pitching to a customer. There's always something at the end that you're going to do, and you're a little bit tense about it, and you have to perform to the best of your ability when you get there. So that's why you want to arrive rested and fit and able for the job ahead. And that sense of performance in business is what I call the performance of leadership. And if you say, well, are we performing in business? You know, I'm not an actress, I'm not a singer, I'm not a musician, I'm not performing. Well, I say, well, oh yes, you are. You are most definitely performing at the cutting edge in business, because this is how we're judged, how we turn up, how we're measured. It's the yardstick by which people actually decide to hire us or buy from us, or make that sale, or close that deal, or listen to our vision, or follow us as leaders. That's the thing of being always on, always up front, always available as a leader. And in fact, with the advent of social media, we're even more always on than we ever were before. We always have to present this shiny, positive version of ourselves at all times. And it's probably a bit unfair, but it puts the pressure on us as business leaders, as business people, to get out there and perform and to deliver on all occasions. Actually, I'm doing a lot of research on this element of performance leadership at the moment, because I'm writing a book on it and it'll be out in September. And my aim is to support people with this element of performance in business, to actually give people, if you like, a kind of a blueprint to follow if they have to make that speech or make a presentation or do a media interview or conduct some very important negotiation. I want to be able to support people in actually nailing it every time, coming out of that occasion feeling, yes, I did it, I did the business, which is actually a great feeling. And I believe that we can all do these things. We all actually can deliver at the cutting edge, at the coalface, in a very positive way. If we just learn a few techniques and put them into practice, and actually get the help you need when you're going out to make that very important keynote speech or to deliver that performance. Get a bit of help, learn a few techniques, and put the work in to that event that might be a very crucial one in making or breaking your career or your business as it goes forward. And sometimes people would ask me, when I work with people, can I turn somebody who's a mediocre speaker, can I turn them into a really, really good speaker? Or can I turn somebody who's just kind of average at negotiations, doesn't really get the subtleties of it, can I turn them into a John Hume? And the answer is no, I can't. But what I can do is I can always improve somebody's game. I can always get that bar up a few notches. So if somebody starts out as fairly mediocre, I can make them really good. And if they're already really good, I can make them brilliant. That's the guarantee I would give my clients. And it's something that I love doing. The coach in me always wants somebody else to perform better, to perform to the best of their ability. And I always see that potential and want to bring it out in them. I started my own career as a journalist, as Barry said, way back in the day, and I worked with some of the local publications. I did my internship back in the Irish Press, back in the good old days, and worked then in local radio, and eventually then moved on to RTE, where I became a broadcast journalist, and I was there for a number of years throughout the 90s. But then those Thomas the Tank Engine warriors I mentioned kicked into play, and I took a number of years out to spend some time turning them into fairly respectable citizens, I hope, and I hope I've achieved that. But during that period, I also set up a communications training business with my husband and business partner, Gavin Duffy, and we also invested in recruitment and property and various other businesses. So now I'm told, an entrepreneur, and this is the new word, of course. In the good old days, we were just business people, but now we all have to be entrepreneurs. And as Barry said, this year I was very honoured to be made the president of the Irish branch of EO, the Entrepreneurs Organisation. I've had a lovely year doing that, but my year is coming to an end. Thanks be to the good Lord, because it's been busy, and I'll be handing over to Pat Doyle of Ballymoney Foods. So the EO organisation in Ireland will be in a very capable pair of hands. But as a broadcast journalist, I suppose the thing that struck me most, or the part that I apply now to the work I do, is that you lose that sense of fear of holding this microphone in your hand. You lose that sense of fear of the red light coming on, of that moment of dead air, or you get a sense of, you know what, I can do this, I can wing it, I'll make it happen. It's not going to be a disaster. And let's face it, Chris and Ivan do that every morning, and they're getting away with it very well. They haven't been found out yet, so if they can do it, there's hope for us all. But that moment I'm talking about that prevents maybe some of us from actually getting up there and doing it is that sense of nervousness. And I describe it as the bottler moment. Do you remember that lovely character Brendan Grace, the comedian, used to do? And it was Bottler, the little schoolboy with the hat on the wrong way around and the little pair of shorts. And Bottler, we used to always get up, or Brendan used to get up doing Bottler, and his routine would always start with, "You's all looking at me." And it is that moment, I think, that people fear when they suddenly look up and they see 300 pairs of eyes in a hall or in an auditorium looking up at them. And that moment where the big spotlight comes in on the self and you get hit by a massive surge of adrenaline. And that adrenaline rush, if you don't know how to deal with it, can actually knock you over. It is so powerful. Adrenaline is one of the most powerful natural drugs there are. But there are techniques to deal with this. It is, it's just the adrenaline rush, it's just the fight or flight mechanism, and it's there to help us. And if we learn to deal with it and use it, it can be a very, very powerful performance energy that you can learn to focus out the way. They say that nervousness is one of the top 10 fears worldwide. It's way up at the top of the pile, ahead of arachnophobia or a fear of closed spaces or drowning or any of those things. Although it's actually held that one of the top 10 fears recently is nomophobia. And of course, you know what nomophobia is? Going out without your mobile phone. So that is maybe taking over the fear of public speaking. But look, the answer to dealing with the nervousness issue is practice, a bit of training, a bit of development in the soft skills. And the soft skills are getting a lot of attention again lately. On the MBA programs across the world, they're actually beginning to teach soft skills all over again. There was a time there when there was a rush to teach all of the business practices and business development and even the technology, whereas in fact we don't have to teach young people the technology. Young people are attracted to the technology in the same way that a big bunch of paper clips are attracted to a magnet. We don't really have to teach those, they will teach themselves. But the soft skills are something we do actually have to teach. Because I don't know what it's like in your own organisation, but have you ever said to an intern, I think the young people today don't really know how to even, for example, make a phone call. You might say to an intern as you're leaving, would you phone that client and would you tell them that we'll do such and such and we'll see, is that okay on Friday or whatever? And you'll come back to the office a while later and you'll say, how did you get on? And they'll say, I'm waiting to hear back. And I'd say, what do you mean you're waiting to hear back? Oh, I sent an email. They won't pick up the phone. So we really have to work on those soft skills again. The opposite to nervousness, the nervousness I've just described, that self-conscious moment when you're sort of in the spotlight, is a feeling of what only can be described as almost euphoria when you're getting the meeting or the negotiation really, really right, when you're absolutely nailing it, when you're looking across that table and you're seeing the I'm in moment on the customer's face, they're actually going to buy the product, and it's a fantastic feeling. Or when you've gone into a very difficult negotiation and you feel the mood in the room shifting and you know it's coming your way and you're absolutely ready to grab that moment. It's a fantastic feeling. Or when you're giving a presentation and you know that people are getting it and they're with you and they're following it. That's a wonderful, wonderful feeling. And it's a sensation of just hitting it very sweetly. And it's often described as the flow, the sensation of flow. And that was first, or not first, but discovered or dealt with very, very ably by a man called Mihai Csikszentmihalyi, and he has written about it. He's an author and a psychologist, and very interesting, this concept of flow. It's about being in the right place at the right time, doing the right thing and doing it really well, knowing that in that moment you're in the place where you are meant to be just right at that time and you're performing out of your skin, and it's a fabulous feeling. It depends on achieving flow, depends on having the homework done, so it's not really about winging it. You've done the work, and therefore you have the confidence of knowing that you know what to do. And then of course you're really focusing on the task. You're not focusing on your ability to do the task, which is that spotlight in on yourself that I described earlier. You've got the spotlight out. The spotlight is absolutely focused on the task with laser precision. And it's also a lack of self-consciousness and picking up the signals and picking up the feedback which gives you the result you want. And a lady here beside me gave me a lovely nod and a smile, and you boys have been giving me smiles all day. You're absolutely fabulous. So that's feedback. That's wonderful. But if I'm not looking at that, if I'm all wrapped up in myself, I'm missing all of that lovely energy that's coming back from you, and it's not helping the performance. And that's what flow is, being aware and being able to use that. And if you want to put it into a vision in your head for exactly what flow is, you have to think of Ronan O'Gara, the gorgeous Raj. And you know that moment, that picture, and you've seen it 1,000 times in magazines and newspapers and on the television, where he placed the ball, did his steps, and he paused and he just looked up at the bar. And you knew in that moment there was only one possible outcome, and that ball was going over that bar. Fabulous, iconic picture. And that is flow. That is it there, where you knew a bomb could go off in the stadium and he wouldn't hear it. He was just so task focused. It's a wonderful thing, that concept of flow. But you know, we can't all have a Grand Slam or a Triple Crown winning moment. On our own personal journeys, what we're trying to do is achieve some sense of flow in our working lives, because that is what makes it possible for us to keep going out and doing what we do every day. And you know, they say if you're doing something you love, you're never going to work a day in your life. And that's what we're all hoping to do. We're hoping to get that moment of flow on some days of the week, on some weeks of the month, where we actually feel, yes, we're in the right place, doing the right thing at the right time. And that's a great thing to actually aim for, I think, because those are the days that really make it all worthwhile. They're the days that make us think, yes, this is great, I am doing the right thing, and I am in the right place. To finish off, my oldest lad, who is now 21, one of the Thomas the Tank Engine Warriors, he's now 21, and I have a great plan to embarrass him, maybe on the day he's getting married, I'll think about it, but maybe then, I'm going to pull out of where I have put away all his little Thomas the Tank Engine trains. I still have them. And I'm going to put them out on the top table. And I'm going to tell everybody that he was absolutely obsessed with Thomas when he was a wee lad. But when he was about, I think it was 3, maybe his 2nd birthday or his 3rd birthday, I remember, and at this stage he was going around wearing the Thomas the Tank Engine jumpers and pyjamas and the whole number. And I remember we got a birthday cake made in the shape of Thomas the Tank Engine. And the wonderful woman who made this cake for me, a local business, knocked herself out. And the Thomas cake was absolutely perfect. You were looking at the living embodiment of Thomas. Actually, it was too real, because at the end of the birthday party, when I came up to Thomas with a massive knife in my hand and said, "Right, we'll all have a slice," he burst into tears and said, "Don't cut Thomas, Mammy, he's my friend." So the cake stayed on the table for about, I think, 3 or 4 weeks until it mouldered its way out the back door eventually. But we couldn't actually cut it because Thomas meant so much to him. So on your own journey through life, I hope that you find some flow, that you actually put in the work, put in the performance, and become a performing leader in whatever area of work you're in yourself. And I hope you find some fantastic friends en route to share it with. Thank you.